did this the Cowboy Vittles way. By golly, she's been a long day. I've been up since about 3:30 this morning. Couldn't let myself go back to sleep, so I came on down and fixed myself a hot pot of coffee. I went ahead and read my morning news, thinking about, wouldn't the eggs and bacon be good for the morning? I went upstairs into my pantry. Didn't have none in my freezer. So it's like, oh well, what do? I went out riding. When I came back, I realized I need to go to the store to get some more. And guess what? I picked up me 5 pounds of bacon at my local butcher market, and I'm gonna show you how we do it the Cowboy Vittles way. Give me just a moment. As you can see, I've still got all my stuff on from riding earlier. I'm gonna go in and get gowned up. Join you in just a few seconds. Now what we're gonna do, I've got 5 pounds of bacon, and they're thick sliced. Let me show you what these are. These are bacon. It's not that store-bought nonsense that you get out. This is thick stuff. Look at that. We're gonna go ahead and start putting that in our pan. And I know folks, they do it differently. When they're pressure canning their hamburger, some will do it raw, some will cook it up partway, some will do it whatever. They even chunk it up so they can have it in their salads or whatever. Myself, I like whole pieces as much as I can get. Now, take a look at this. Let's get that out of the way. We don't need it. What we're gonna do is we're gonna layer this down. Now there's a family of 4 of us, and we're gonna go ahead and put this in the pan because I like to cook it up and get some of that fat out of there because I don't like a whole lot. And we're gonna go ahead and put this in here like this. And some people might put it that way, I put it this way. That's just my preference, and everyone's got their own way of doing things. And I'm gonna put about 12 of these if I can get them into the pan. Look at that. Doesn't that look good, folks? Ooh, by golly, I tell you what, this pack had a few more pieces of bacon than the other one did. Let's slide this down here just a little bit more. There we go. Now, watch what I'm gonna do here next. See my brown sugar? I'm gonna go ahead and take about 1.5 cups of this and put it in about 1 cup of water. Oh crud, my hands are slippery. Let's just rip it open. Get this brown sugar going in this water. About 1.5 cups is all you really need. There. Now we're gonna set this off to the side. I'm gonna take my spoon and start stirring this around. Oops, made another mess again. But you know what? A clean cook ain't a good cook. And yes, my water's hot, so it's melting awful quick. Let's set that down there. Now, what we're gonna do, I got my little spatula with the brush on it. We're gonna keep on stirring it just a little bit more. Now, let's start wiping these things down with some of this brown sugar. It's gonna taste awful good when it's done. Look at that. And when that's cooking up, it's going to glaze this stuff. And it's going to give us such of a sweetness that, oh my God, you're going to like feel like you're in heaven, even if you're on earth. Get up there, you little puppy. One of the ends kind of picked up on me. I reckon that's probably good enough. Let's go ahead and put that back on there. Let's just set this off to the side for the moment. And I'm going to get the other one going. And then I'm going to pop it into the oven for about 25 minutes at 350 degrees. Because I don't want it done too crispy. Because when we start to prepare this in the parchment paper, guess what? It's going to be nice and pliable that you can just roll it up and shove it into your jars. So give me about 25 minutes. Well, the bacon is done after 25 minutes in their oven at 350 degrees. They're not fully cooked. They're not crunchy and stuff because we need to be able to roll this up so we can get it in our canning jars. Now my wife always has to remind me to use a pot holder when I grab these pans. So I'm going to grab both of these, pull one of these over. Take a look at this, folks. This is that thick cuts bacon that I was talking about. We don't want that thin stuff that you buy out of Albertsons, King Soopers, Piggly Wigglies, or whatever. We need a little bit thicker. Now what we're going to do, we're going to set it on our rack. And we're going to try to get some of that grease off there. And no, we're not going to waste that grease. Let's go ahead and get this going. Oh my God, that smells so good with that brown sugar on there. By golly, I tell you what, I can hardly wait to get into that tomorrow morning with some eggs and maybe some biscuits and stuff. We're going to go ahead and put these down here. And we're going to try to get a little bit more of that grease off there. Now we're going to take some paper towels. We're going to see if we can get a little bit more off this. If I can get the darn thing off there. There we go. Now what we're going to do is we're going to just set that over top. We're going to mash it down. Get some of that extra grease off there. And yes, the grease from the bacon when it was in the oven. Guess what? We ain't wasting it. I've got a pint-sized jar over there because I'll be able to go ahead and put that in there. And I'll be able to use that to fry up my eggs in the morning. Now, let's get this over here just a little bit more. See, look at all that grease that's coming off there. And yes, I got a piece of bacon stuck to this thing. And there it went. I'm going to continue getting a little bit of this grease out of here because we don't need any more of that fat and oil and stuff into our arteries. And then after it's done, guess what? It's time to put it in the parchment paper and get it into the pressure canner. We got some more bacon to cook because we're making bacon at Cowboy Vittles' house. Now the next thing we're going to do, we've got them all laid out. That's about 3 pieces of bacon for each of my family members, which is 4 of them. Now we're going to go ahead and take one of these other sheets of paper, which is not quite as thick. We're going to put this over top of it. There we go. Now we've already drained off all that grease. And if you'll notice, take a look at that. I left a little bit of edge on each side. Now what we're going to do, we're going to fold this side over here. And then we're going to go ahead and flip this around and fold it in half. Don't worry about it, folks. It'll come out just right. Then we're going to go ahead and put this over here. And just like a log, we're going to start rolling this up, and we're going to start putting it into our quart-sized jars. We're going to make this nice and tight. Look at that. See how you're rolling that up? Now what you want is these quart-sized jars. Now some people, if you don't need as much bacon, you can get smaller ones. But what we're going to do is we're going to shove this down in here just like that. Now what we're going to do, some folks like to use vinegar. Some people like to use just dry paper towels. Others, they'll just use water on their paper towel. But what we're going to do is we want to wipe down these lids because we want a good seal on the darn things. So we're going to, and yes, I'm just using water. I don't need to go through all that nonsense. Throw that down there. Now what we're going to do, we've already taken our lids, and that's the most important part, is that when you're doing this, you want to go ahead and have these things sterilized. We're going to put that on there. We're going to take one of our rings. We're going to go ahead and twist that on down. Not like a lug nut on a car. We just want to have a tight seal on it. As you notice, we didn't put no water in there because bacon doesn't need water. They don't need any of the extra fluids. We're going to set this off to the side, and we're going to do a whole lot more because guess what? I'm going to do about 10 more pounds of bacon next week because food prices are rising. We don't need to spend that extra money. We don't need to create more space in our freezers. So let's go ahead and wipe this down. See what I'm doing here, folks? I got my little magnetic grabber. Takes it right out of there. Let's go ahead and get that screw lid on there. Put that on there, and guess what? We're going to go ahead and put this in the pressure canner for about 90 minutes. And depending upon how you do this, it can last you anywhere from 3 to 5 years. But you know, we can go ahead and pull that out just like the rest of our meats and vegetables and stuff. All we have to do is warm it up. That's what bacon is. She's been a long day. We only did about 5 pounds of bacon a day, and I got about 10 more to go. But you know what? She's finally done. We're going to go ahead and let them cool off, and they're already starting to pop with the pressure sealing. We're going to let that sit overnight. And then guess what? You remember all that bacon grease that we had? We're going to use that when we scramble up our eggs or whatever to go with this, and along with our muffins or bread or whatever. But that's about how much out of 5 pounds. And guess what? Look down here. I want you to take a look at that, because as that starts to settle, there's going to be more fat. And that's what you're putting in your body, folks. We don't need that any more than we have to, but we'll keep this because we'll need it later on for a little bit of cooking, not a whole lot. Now, if you like what we've done and you want to try it, go down below. We invite you to subscribe to our channel. We invite you to like us on social media. We invite you to come back and check out some of our other recipes. In the meantime, Cowboy Vittles, come and get them.